ever since the women's marches, which happened a few days ago, it's had me thinking a lot in terms of moments in my own life where I could have said something and I didn't. When I was in the 6th grade, it happened one day. Our class was watching a movie, and there was this male classmate of mine who was sitting next to me, and all of a sudden he decided to put his hand on my leg. He was rubbing my leg for a couple of minutes. Basically, I just nervously sat there. I didn't know what to say. I felt scared, I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't tell the teacher. And then eventually he pulled away, strangely saying that he thought somehow he was touching his own leg. And one day, when I was a teenager, my mom and I were sitting outside the balcony. There were a bunch of teenage boys sitting outside in the back alley drinking alcohol. And out of nowhere, my mother said that if I had a brother, even if he were younger than me, she would let him stay out late because he was a boy and I was a girl. For 2 weeks, there was a guy who was in his early 20s or so who began stalking me. It happened one day. I was walking outside with my dog, and out of nowhere he just slowly rolled his car along the sidewalk. He was telling me to smile. He was saying all kinds of things to get me to speak to him, and I just continued walking. And from then on, it would get to the point where every time I would go out, be it to the store or to walk my dog or anything, he would be either standing in front of the building or he would be following me with his car. And so it happened one night as I was coming home, after he tried harassing me from his car again. I memorized his license plate, given to my mom, and we called the cops. At that point, the police said basically that they couldn't do anything unless something happened. Now, that's something being what? Who the hell knows? Not long before moving out, my mom and I were having a conversation, and for whatever reason she just started asking me why at that point I hadn't been in a relationship yet, why I hadn't started dating. And I was simply trying to explain to her that at that point I just hadn't met the right person, that I simply wasn't ready, that I was more or less focusing on my career, focusing on school. And it was from then on she started asking me all these strange questions in terms of whether I was afraid of men, whether I might have been a lesbian. She was asking me, like, would you be more comfortable with a woman? Did something happen to you? Last year I was having a conversation with a colleague at work, and when I told her at that point I still hadn't been dating, the first question popped up was, so that makes you a virgin?
But I don't give a shit, cause really it's none of your business.
Like, why the fuck does that even matter to people? Honestly. You know, like, why do we live in a world where women's sex lives are such a big deal and where we dress is a big deal? You know, it's like, let's not all pretend that this has anything to do with Donald Trump, because these issues have been around for a really long time. And the reason why people are reacting now, it's not because of the election. It's because it's gotten to a point where we just have a low tolerance for bullshit. And there was this another time last summer, I was walking down the street and there was this young guy who walked by me. All of a sudden he was like, "Oh, you're so sexy," and he was like talking about my ass and all this, and basically making me uncomfortable. And anytime we complain about this, we get accused of not being able to handle a compliment, which is ridiculous because normally a compliment is supposed to make the person you're giving it to feel good. It's not meant to make you feel good. A compliment is something that's supposed to elevate a person. But nowadays it's gotten to a point where a lot of compliments that we hear from guys are essentially just backhanded insults meant to tear us down for the way we look, for the way we express ourselves. And this is not something that we should fucking put up with. You know, you want to give somebody a compliment, do so respectfully. We're always worried about offending someone. I remember myself a lot of times when I would not tell somebody that they upset me. The reason is because I wanted to avoid an argument, or because I was afraid that the person would get angry, or that the situation would escalate. Like, many times now, I'll be walking down the street and out of nowhere there'll be like this cat call or this whistle. Like just the other day I was walking outside wearing a winter coat, just very normal, and suddenly there's this man who's driving in a truck with his friend, and as I'm walking by he yells out to me, and I was on a quiet street, so obviously I got very surprised. My first reaction was to tell him to shut up, and as the truck rolled away he literally yelled out, "Fuck you, bitch," as a response to me telling him to shut up after he surprised me. Right now I'm sitting here with all this unnecessary guilt from moments in my life that were not my fault. I understand that situations that I went through are not even half as bad as some of the situations that were discussed last Saturday, but to be fair, if we lived in a world that was truly equal, none of these things would have ever happened. Okay, inquiring on why your daughter hasn't been in a relationship yet and behaving as if somehow that's a bad thing, that's not something that you would ask your son.
Don't try to take my mind. Really, it's none of your business.
1992.